Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. So we have a 2v2 for you today on Mud Pit. I'm playing with my ally URSS Coates against a Lieutenant Colonel Axis and a Private Heinz. So I'm playing as the Red Dragons Coalition, something I've been trying to get better at recently, and my main focus will be in Feder and Dimitri, as my ally is going to be helping in Dimitri and pushing toward Anna. So of course, at the start, I'm trying to secure the town here in the center, which is often a nice hard point for this side of the map, as well as establish some sort of forward presence in Feder. Specialist infantry here, I also have some WZ-550 and HQ-7 overlooking the ridge just to prevent any sort of forward motion, and right off the bat we have a Helo Hunter, a MiG-29 912B, going in after a Lynx AH-7, so we are able to kill him with the specialist infantry inside, probably SAS or something of that nature. This is, of course, destruction, so a little bit different from my usual, and we will be able to see point values on kills, so that will be somewhat helpful, seeing the effectiveness of different maneuvers, different bombing runs, artillery strikes, things like that, as well as just standard kills. So now we do have the main thrust coming in from the Blue 4 team. Very nice use of smoke here, trying to obscure the advance. Possibly could have been a bit farther forward or a bit more spread out, but it is enough to do something, and that will be making my ally, who is of course playing his Baltic front, have quite a hard time. So, I mean, this is a pretty good start here. We have ATGMs going in, but I mean, there's a British player and a Israeli player, and both of them have pretty good infantry fighting vehicles. Although, I mean, specialized a little differently, but Zeldas are going to be very hard for that ATGM team to deal with. Over on my side, the WZ-551 transports are being taken out by Rover Wombats, which, I mean, that's never a feel-good moment there. And my scout tank has been detracked, which is halting my advance on that side. In the meantime, two Wilks from the Baltic front player here are going to be having a bit of a hard time against just the sheer amount of firepower. So Rovait, Zelda's a very nice, very cheap mechanized push going in there, and also some MI2 scout helos being destroyed as well. So we are getting a little bit pushed here, but if you look at the overall trading, Coat 3310 is my ally, excuse me, is doing pretty well. So far so good. I mean, destruction at the end of the day, if you win by 5 points of kills at the end of the 40-minute match, I mean, that's all it takes, right? So ideally it'd be a little bit better than that, but you know, and the spikes are doing very well. Kartniekri should do just fine, and this will end up being a lost position, but in terms of the fight itself, really not horrible. In part that's because the T-72M2 Wilks were able to retreat, losing a couple KRKKs there, but getting the Wilks out was definitely a nice and valuable move. So another Lynx AH-7 coming in, and so finally the ZTQ opening up on those Rover Wombats should be able to take them out pretty well. I mean, these guys do fire heat rounds, so they will be able to do some damage to the ZTQ, but we have longer range, and the scouting ability on the ZTQ should also be pretty helpful. Kartniekri will get overwhelmed here as a couple squads of Rovait come in, and I mean, he got a couple of them down, so really, again, not the worst value trade, but it might not be quite enough. And now we have an Avia 28 bomber coming in from the Baltic player, and I think the hope is just clear out this entire town of infantry if at all possible. So his own Kartniekri should be taking cover here any second, and we should be able to also see the effect of that bomb, which is a lot of damage and 0 kills, precisely 0 kills, which surprised the hell out of me. I use Avia 28s as Baltic front all the time. I tend to find they're decently effective, and yeah, I don't know, that was interesting. I mean, of course the Kartniekri are getting a couple kills because of it. The Wilk providing good fire support should be able to get a little bit, but one of the other Wilks was lost. And you can see the Blue 4 team is starting to catch up to us a little bit on points, which is never something that you want. In a game like this, now my scout infantry, the Lee Ren, have encountered Rover Wombats, and that will not go their way very, very easily. Type 69-1s are okay. I mean, 20 AP power is nice. But finally, with backup from the ZTQ and the Hwasong Chung, we should be able to get some good stuff. So I'm at this point asking my ally to reinforce in Dimitri, but I mean, just taking a look at the battlefield, he's lost a lot of stuff. And I really haven't quite as much, so I'll be doing some reinforcements there as well. We were talking in the chat, he was asking, let's shift priorities a little bit. And I have my own B5 bomber coming in, just trying to clear out this position. Rovait running away, and maybe that retreat is why this bombing run gets, 2 infantry kills, probably a couple of transports as well, but nothing more than that. And now there's a bit of pit fighting going in Anna, so Sanahim should be able to take out the KTs and KRKKs. We also do spot a Macbeth moving forward, And my ZTQ is able to push out a Scout Spartan and potentially allow me to, push this corner a little bit. If I can get some weapons teams up here, that might be a good thing. Lynx H7 coming back in, but we are able to spot more SAS outside of their weapons range, with the exception of that Stinger missile going after my MI1. So we'll have to see if that is something that we can avoid getting killed, and it looks like yes, but Baz coming in, and the Avia 28 bomber also coming in. Looks like evac Winchester, but the Avia goes down, so let's see if we can find that bomb, and there was the drop, no joy. So a bit of a swing and a miss there, and a lost expensive bomber because of it. ZTQ killing more scouts resources in these woods, and I was reasonably confident that I might be able to push them. So that's what we're trying to do right now. Yes, I don't have enough infantry up here to do that, but the BTR 60Ps I thought can go into the forest and allow my other units to provide some fire support there. But we spot SBS in the woods and a Challenger 1 Mark II. So again, pretty good use of fire support here. I'm going to be retreating from the SBS, trying to stay out of range of their main gun, and also retreating away from that Challenger 1 Mark II, while simultaneously bringing forward a WZ-550. Now this is one of the things I like most about the Red Dragon vehicle tab. It is, of course, 80 points, maybe not quite as good as the Israeli Hafiz, but still, 26 AP, 70% accuracy, ATGMs is going to give this Challenger a run for his money. So just setting up here, trying to get vision in between these hedgerows is not easy, but it's something I am currently trying to do. In addition, the mortars that were used to smoke that first advance are now going to be opening up on my own units. That's another problem, but one ATGM goes in and it's a hit, and it looks like swing and a miss, but we still have vision just for a second. Third missile on the way. Hit, but no kill. So unfortunately that Challenger does survive, but that's a pretty big investment. He was probably hoping to reclaim this corner with it and a couple supporting elements, and that very much has not been done. So for the time being anyway, we have a little bit of an advantage here, which we might be able to take and push further later on. But Lynx H7, I don't really have an answer for this at the moment. The Sneb rocket pods will be absolutely vicious. My Hwasong Chungs have 3 missiles left, but I don't really trust them after taking down one thing, and that's why right there. So 2 shots, 2 misses. It is enough to cause the Lynx H7 to retreat, but I don't know. He could have not retreated and gotten away with it, he just didn't know, which is never exactly how you want things to go. But my BRDM-2 scout vehicle is getting killed by a spike team. Should have probably brought out a mortar at this point, or some sort of light fire support like that, because it's kind of hard pushing a spike team like that. I'm trying to do it with Lee Ren. Probably should have expected that there was a Challenger, maybe a Scimitar or something like that back there, and yeah, so that's not going to go well. But my ally actually opening up for me with that Talakar 84 might be able to kill. No, it doesn't look like it, so no points there, and I have to assume that means the spike team is still around. Enemy mortar fire coming in again, but it's too late. My Lee Ren are already dead. So at this point, and seeing more Blue 4 reinforcements coming in here, I am pulling back at this position, so the Lee Ren are retreating, the Hwasong Chung retreating the WZ-550 as well. And in part this was also because I realized that he was starting to get recon on me again, so the ZZC spotted, my ZTQ was spotted before he moved back, and I thought better to hold this position well than to overextend and lead to a loss. So, it is what it is. I lost Lee Ren anyway. But we had a good engagement there. We're starting to lose the good engagement. I haven't gotten a kill in a while, and I've lost about 100 points for the trouble. So it was starting to turn a little bit, right? So 810 points to 565, and we're playing against Lieutenant Colonel. That's not something you should ever take lightly. My own sergeant rank was barely 1, and I haven't played ranked in a while, just trying to get a little bit more experience under my belt before I go, and probably lose my sergeant rank pretty quickly, but it is what it is. So my ally here trying to move up in these woods, and there's some sort of grenade launcher going in. I think it was actually a 3D Baz, of all things, the really, really heavy Israeli tank that's, just phenomenal. So excellent main gun, grenade launchers able to suppress infantry, and B-5 bomber coming in. I was in part testing his air defense. These guys are 15 strength, so they're a bit more resilient, and nothing was shooting at him, so I thought maybe he just has the Baz. We do get a kill there, and I also spot a Lynx 3, so part of why I love playing as Red Dragons is because of this plane right here, the MiG-29 912B, one of the best helo hunters in the entire game, and this Lynx 3, of course, is 100 points, and we get in, we get the kill. So absolutely beautiful, evac ordered right away, and that Lynx 3 going down has to be infuriating for the blue 4 player. In the meantime, there is a pretty dedicated push here, smoke going down, and Pechota trying to push the forward position. This is very nicely done as well. Something I struggle with doing, splitting up infantry quite that much, but this is preventing people from getting stunned, panicked, and acting as a group instead of individual units. I think we also just did miss a kill by the Fibao, who I think, if memory serves, did take out probably Israeli AA, and that actually causes Axis to surrender, which I feel is a bit premature. I mean, yeah, the points gap is widening again, but I mean, they have a forward position in Dmitry. Yeah, there's a push going on here, but it's far from unrecoverable. A single bomber would have been able to do something about that, or even a little bit of dedicated artillery, which, the Pechota are on their own now. The Topaz have been pushed back, and yeah, they're ganging up on some Rovait, but they're really stationary for a while, so that wasn't exactly great. Lynx AH7 making the unfortunate choice of getting spotted there again, and my Helo Hunters just having a nice time. Should have probably been intercepted by an ASF, but of course we have just had one of the blue 4 players surrender, so the other one's probably scrambling to get a hold of all the new units, and I guess that was a bit mean on my part, taking advantage of that confusion. Rovait 90 getting spotted and unfortunately chewed through by lots and lots and lots in the woods here. And I'm trying to say, well, hey, pay attention to this because, yeah, look, there is mortar fire coming in, and it does look like one of those groups of infantry is killed. But still, I mean, taking that forward position is very much a nice thing for us. And at this point, I could have pushed here over in Fetter, taking down the Lynx 3, taking down that other stuff. Probably could have pushed. Didn't really want to, in part just because, I've been on the receiving end of my ally surrendering really when he probably shouldn't have, and it's very much not fun. So it's okay. This kind of became a bit more of a friendly game at this point, just because of that. So we will fast forward just a little bit as the mid game goes up. Fibao coming in, trying to get some radar AA snacks, and a B5 bomber was the only thing I really had available to provide more fire on this town. I thought they probably refilled it, so I may as well go in and see if I can get some more kills, and in fact we do. Another unit of infantry going down, and a couple of transports as well. So pretty nice. The enemy Baz did come in, but was unable to get a kill on any of my airplanes, and now we're starting to really tick up there in points. So 650 points in kills for me, 515 for my ally, and our opponent capping Anna is a problem because he still had spike teams here, he still had fire support there, there was some probably pretty heavy tanks in the back of Dmitry, which means that even though it's only one of him and two of us, he has a +4 ticking points, just income straight on advantage over us. Not to mention that he can put it all in the same place, whereas we have to coordinate together. So sometimes that can be an advantage in defeat in detail kind of things. Merkava 3B is pushed up in pairs, and this was a bit of a questionable decision, I think. So 155 point tanks, and Pechota could ambush that relatively well. So I'm marking them, just trying to get my allies' attention over there. We are able to countercap as well, so my ally taking the initiative and countercapping to deny our enemy that points advantage is very nice. And 4 units of Pechota moving over, but the 3Bs are retreating back to their side of the woods. So nice control, nice micro there from Heinz, who is the only man left on the blue 4 team. So even though these units say Axis, they're just leftovers from what he had out in the field. Spartan should not have moved forward. I don't think that Heinz was very aware of what was going on this side of the field earlier, so I can't really blame him for that. But he does get the SPS out of dodge when things start to go south. I'm also bringing some Bochung Su and more Hwasung Chungs, and I thought maybe we might be able to take some of the woods on that side. Certainly something I'd want to do the whole game. I always want Fetter to be more dynamic than it usually is, Fetter to center, because if you can break through here, then it becomes relatively easy to push through with solid mechanized or armored push from Fetter into center. It's just getting past this corner is so difficult sometimes. It's very easy to defend. So I did mark that I think the blue 4 forces were right about here. That seemed to match up with the IFEs, which I was pretty sure still had infantry in them. So there is artillery coming in from the RAK 91. as well as another bombing run coming in, and some pretty nice damage there. I think a couple kills on the Rova as well. I don't see those because they're not my kills, but I definitely think that did quite a bit, and the B5 bomber is going to be denied a little bit of success there, but I'm just really just trying to crush the enemy reinforcements going into those woods. Baz, unfortunately, does catch my B5, and he goes down, so probably not worth it there. I mean, we got, what was that, 30 points in kills, but the tactical situation was actually not horrible, so yeah, I lost the bomber, but we were able to protect Coates' forces in this area and allow him to really secure a bit more of Anna than we had previously. So let's go back up to speed 2 just for a little bit. We do have eyes on an Auxiliary Pakud, which I figured would be plopping himself down right there, and he does. So capping Dmitri, and the Blue 4 player, I mean, 1v2, but again, securing that income advantage is the thing that he needs to do to keep himself in the game and make up for the difference in micro. B5 bomber coming in, and I figured this wouldn't really work, but I was just trying to scare that CV away and try and deny income for as long as I possibly could. Bomb comes in, yeah, it's an Auxiliary Pakud, those things are damn hard to kill, and a single B5 bomb that was spotted and retreated from on the way is not really going to get it done. What we needed was, you know, cluster artillery or just to push this front, but I wasn't quite confident yet doing that. I was trying a little bit too hard, I think, to make this a thing. Probably shouldn't have. We really needed to get some sort of counter cap or even just our own cap in Dmitri in order to win this game. But as you guys can see, there's only about 3 minutes left, so there is quite a bit that goes on in those 3 minutes. Finally pushing up again, BRDM2 versus the Dorban LR, and the ZTQ providing fire support. So my hope was the ZTQ would remain hidden, BRDM2 would move up and take some damage, but I mean, the Spike team hit my ZTQ, we're down to a single point of strength left there, and finally able to get the kill, so that Spike team that's been a nuisance the whole game is finally done. But ITO 90 actually killed by enemy artillery, and there's one left, but this was a double stack, which I usually don't double stack these. They're 85 points, they're basically better Quatals. 8 missile reserve is pretty huge, you don't really need to double stack that. I mean, good accuracy besides, right? 65% accuracy, decent range. I tend to find one's enough. If you're really losing that hard in that sector with one of those out, it's usually not to something that they're designed to handle, or your resupply is just bad. So at this point we have enemy bombers coming in, so there's a Kurnos trying to take out my Bochung Su, and successful in it. So I've never really used those electro-optical missiles so much, I'm trying to test that out a little bit more, but unfortunately my infantry were spotted and killed, MI1 retreating because of it. And as you guys can see, Fetter is really just going to be a holding action. As I've kind of decided at this point, I think that Dmitri might be a little bit more worth it, but you know, holding off that long in Fetter and pressuring Dmitri a little bit has allowed my ally to repair a wonderful trap here. So infantry moving up, Reneko Yekri are wonderful special forces, Karvin Yekri are wonderful shock troops designed for infantry killing, so they are up and around the enemy's flank. Siphon is spotted, and the KRKKs won't be able to kill him because they do have frag launchers, but the KTs, if they get close, should be able to turn those Bushmaster 2s onto the enemy scout helo. In addition, we spot something up there, and I'm moving the bond tank if I go up. A bit questionable, they will be spotted as they're probably just standing out in the open firing their ATGMs, but I wanted to put pressure on the Blue 4 player as my ally moved up. So then we have artillery coming in, and this was absolutely wonderful. Let's actually turn this on to neutral for a bit, and you can see everything here is stunned, things are getting killed, the Rovaid were down to half strength, Merkava 3Bs panicked, stunned, Machbet stunned, just absolutely beautiful. Maybe a little bit early, but really not too bad there either, and the smoke from the Telek, it would make anyone think that a push was coming in this way, but it really wasn't. So there's a couple units of Pechota, but the main problem was collapsing in from the left-hand side. So reinforcements coming in, of course, for the Blue 4 player, but those Zeldas, I mean, they're nice, they're cheap, they're also really slow. So we'll switch back to, actually, you know what, let's switch to my allies' perspective just so we can see the point values on those kills, as the Raniko is, in particular, make contact. Pechota also moving up and blocked by the smoke. So Kartnyekri engaging with Rovait, Raniko find the Merkava 3Bs, one shot away, and it looks like hits, and let's see, 2, 3, nearly killed that Merkava. Looks like the front armor did get inbound, and that's 155 points right there. Splitting the Ranico to prevent any sort of stun locking or things like that, and the Merkava 3B is just taking it right on the chin. Rovi also get immediately killed by the Ranico. KRKKs and Kartaniekri moving forward, and at that point the blue 4 player does surrender. So Mudfight 2v2, very enjoyable game. We didn't get anywhere close to 6,000 points before it was over, and that's kind of my experience in destruction games. Although they either go all the way late or someone surrenders early to a disadvantage. Kills and losses 2-1 in our favor, which is pretty brutal when he surrendered. So this doesn't really represent Axis's performance because he had a lot of troops on the field that were lost after he had already surrendered. But you know, that's what you get for surrendering as well. So still well played to both Axis and Heinz, also well played to my ally Coates. I hope to play with him again in a couple days or so. But yeah, that's all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.